Pep Guardiola is reshuffling his backroom staff as well ahead of next season. It's already been confirmed that assistant coaches Juan Melillo, Inigo Dominguez will both depart when their contracts expire, and Carlos Vicens has agreed to become the new head coach at Braga. So, but there's reports now that are emerging that City, well, Jurgen Klopp's former assistant at Liverpool, Pep Lijnders, is set to join City, begin work with Guardiola's squad at the Club World Cup. So it seemed, from rivals to partners, if you like, this comes as a bit of a surprise, doesn't it, Stephen? What do you make of this one that, someone at Liverpool potentially coming over to City in the summer?
I was reading an article a couple of days ago that said that one of City's biggest problems is they've become such a mundane, out of possession team. They're so slow. We're just a poor pressing team these days. I don't think you can be a great side. I don't think you can win competitions at the highest level and just be poor out of possession these days. The teams are physically fit. They're dominant. They're aggressive. They're assertive, and they press you rapidly. Like look, like they hunt you like a pack of wolves. And look at the relentless energy of PSG, having just battered into Milan, one of the hardest working teams in European football, 5-0. They're all so focused and they're all so technically brilliant, but also work so insanely hard. You got people like João Neves, he's got nothing on him, but everywhere on the pitch. And look at City, and that was one of their biggest problems last year. Down to injuries, absolutely, tired players, but also down to age as well, and maybe sort of tired ideas a little bit. But Bernardo Silva, Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne and Gundogan, they just can't press like that anymore. Of course they can't. Give them 5 years of age, yes, and maybe they'd be able to, but they just can't do that anymore. And I think Guardiola has looked at Linders, a man who's famous for his influence at Liverpool. And I think Klopp once said he was the most influential person at Liverpool. I remember reading the quote. Obviously, it's Klopp is the most influential person at Liverpool, but he was obviously bigging up his friend there. He comes with a really big reputation. Liverpool fans don't like him anymore, and he obviously failed as a manager a little bit. But many great coaches don't make great managers because it's a very different world. But it's very obvious that he'll bring what he'll bring. Like you don't bring him in unless you're planning to get the players running, because he very publicly has sold his philosophy literally in book form. He said exactly what he wants. He wants 4-3-3. He wants players running really hard, pressing aggressively. He wants fluidity in terms of systems and so on. So Linders will come in and challenge Guardiola, and that's a good thing. Like what's better than one Pep? Two Peps. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Because I can't wait. I think it points towards an aggressive Manchester City next season, and the younger profile squad points towards that anyway. And I think that's the one thing City are missing. We got to run like dogs again because we're not. We've been a little bit slower this year, and teams have run around us. And I think the increase in physicality, you play teams like Villa and Bournemouth and even Palace and Brentford, and they're so physical. And the Premier League is insanely aggressive. So yeah, I think it could be a really smart move, an interesting one.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, Klopp said the most influential guy in the last years at Liverpool. That was one of his parting quotes just before he left Liverpool. He's highly rated. You can see why a club like City would want to go for him. He's, as you mentioned then as well, he tried his luck as a senior manager, first team manager at NEC Breda, and then recently at Red Bull Salzburg. Only lasted less than 6 months, I think, at both clubs. It didn't really work out, but some of these coaches just seem to be better as a number two, and
Yeah.
maybe I think that attraction to join a club as big as City to work alongside Guardiola is something that he would now be attracted to, even though it's a rival, if you like, because he spent, I think it was 9 years across two spells at Liverpool. The lure of working for Guardiola and City seems to be what he would be interested in, and it could be a good move for City to have this new voice working alongside Guardiola.
Yeah, I mean the best team managers in the last 10 years are Guardiola and Klopp, and if you could combine them both into one, and get the best of both worlds, and you've got an essential team, really, an incredible team, and I think it's essential that City do that. Actually, I think learning from the very best at that sort of gegenpressing heavy metal football, as it was called back then. Yeah, there's a lot to learn from Linders for Guardiola, I reckon, and I think he wants to be challenged right now, and I think the aware that mistakes have been made. And look, going back to the point as well about him not being great managerially, yeah, it's a very different skill set to manage a team, and you can be a great coach and great teacher, but it doesn't mean you're a great leader of people. It doesn't mean you're great in game. It doesn't mean you get the respect of your players and so on. Like, yeah, advising and helping put the training codes down, and and being barking orders on a training pitch, totally different to managing a football club and dealing with the pressure of it. Look how Guardiola talks in press conferences and so on. Like, there's a real presence there. Like you can't not respect that. Relentlessly ruthless, but also down to earth. Who plays at the same time. It's very hard to do it. You have to be an immense people person. And for what I've seen of Linders, he's full of himself. He is. I've seen him I've sort of interviews with him, and he's very very cocksure. That's fine. A lot of people are in football, but you have to have the credibility to back that up. You have to have you have to win quickly if you want to present yourself as unique and special. And Guardiola won quickly and dramatically and beautifully. And if you think you're one of the best, you got to prove it. Otherwise, players won't take you seriously. And look, obviously, practically as well, trying to put in these incredibly complex ideas at NEC Brady is a lot harder than it is than other clubs with a quality that you haven't got there compared to say City or whatever. So, but at City now he's back with a great squad of people and the best manager in the world. So let's see how those two mesh together. It could be beautiful. It could explode terribly, but we'll see.
Yeah, and it's also been reported as well that Kolo Toure could be joining Guardiola's backroom staff as well, of course, former defender. So I'm sure that would go down well with City fans, wouldn't it, if he was to return to the Etihad?
Yeah, just for the song, really. The Yaya Kolo song. Yeah, I don't know much about Kolo as a coach. I know he's at Leicester for a bit, wasn't he, and so on, and Celtic and so on. Look, great guy by all accounts. Obviously, a great defender at one point. Well, not at one point. Throughout his career, he was a cracking defender, won the league at City and Arsenal. Yeah, Kolo Toure, look, he's welcome back. I don't know much about his ability as a coach or what he stands for, but he obviously got immense experience around a whole bunch of world class players throughout his career and captain sides as well. Obviously, commands respect in that way. Um, Not every coach as well has to be this incredible tactical genius. There's people like Brian Kidd who were around dressing rooms and so on for 20, 30 years because they were obviously he knows football. I'm not going to sort of patronize him. But look, Brian Kidd, I don't think ever claimed to be a Guardiola like tactical genius, but he was just a proper coach. He was good at earning the respect of the players, consistent, hardworking, very likable. Someone has to be the good cop. For what I can tell, I've met Kolo Toure himself actually. For what I can tell, he's a very nice man, incredibly likable man. I wouldn't be surprised if he's that kind of coach where he knows football, knows well, knows how to talk to players, has energy because he's reasonably young still. It could be that kind of thing. This is all just a guess, of course. I don't know what he'd bring to the training ground, but I guess the point I'm making is like Pep Lijnders feels like a purist. He's like he lives and dies by his ideas. A theorist, a purist, where Kolo Toure is just an old school football man, I would guess. Like he just likes football. Players respect him. He's got the reputation, and hopefully, you need all kinds of coaches to make the beautiful meal. And hopefully he could be a wonderful addition too.